About a week ago, you saw me tackling this Trident Maple when I was talking about leaf defoliation and the dangers of it. Well, I did say I was going to come back to this when I did my Trident Maple video, which is now. So we're going to see how I get on with this one. We're also going to demonstrate how effective it is to grow a long whip to produce a micro bonsai. More of that in a minute. I'm also going to walk you through how I deal with some of my mame, my Shohin, and indeed a lot of my development Trident Maples. A lot of this knowledge you know, but I'm going to go through the 3 straightforward principles that I apply to all my pruning, and hopefully you can share with me the thrills, joys and disappointments of day-to-day pruning in the bonsai retreat. So, who doesn't love a Trident Maple? Hi, it's Xavier, and welcome to my bonsai retreat, and welcome to this rare break in what has been appalling weather. Let's first of all deal with the number one problem most of us have here in the UK, or in fact many places. Very rare to actually go out and buy a Trident Maple whip, grow it in the garden and then create, a big fat bonsai from it. Invariably, most of us at the beginner or intermediate stage will be picking them up from the stores. And though there are some great examples, I would hazard to say that probably 90% of the stuff that comes in trade from the Asian countries is substandard. And you only need to look at some of these to see you've often got these false S shapes put into them. They've got horrible wounds and scars where these big bonsai gardens and plantations have literally just tried to create something that could be mass produced, shipped out and sold to you at quite exorbitant prices. You've got to go through a lot of work to actually eradicate those really basic flaws that are in the tree to begin with. So that's the first problem we often have with our tridents. And in line with that, if we haven't got a lot of experience, often, like we'll do with our Chinese elms, we'll try and make do, we'll try and adapt. And in the end, the solution is often to go back, remove everything that's wrong and start again, because Trident Maple is probably the most robust, strongest of bonsai species we've got. So never be afraid to do big chops. And who knows, we may well see me do a few on what I've got in my garden. And just as an example of probably extremes, this is one of the better shop purchase ones that I got in 2017 for the grand total, well, you'll know by now if you've watched my channel, of £15. And it's relatively smooth barked, no obvious scarring on it. Generally a pretty good piece of material to work with. Yeah, there's an argument that there isn't much taper here, but you know what? Overall, for a tree in my garden with a nice pot, probably needs to change the colour of that, to be honest. I think it washes it out a bit, so that's something to look at. But overall, this is the sort of thing that from shop purchase material, I'm quite happy to have achieved. And all I need to do on this is literally a light prune. I'm going to be concentrating on the apex. All the branching, all the secondary, all the tertiary is really in place. I'm just looking at this to be controlled, fed, and then each year slowly develop, thicken as it does with age. It's a pretty decent example. Not a lot I need to do with it. In fact, all I'm really probably going to do is have a look at the apical region and go back to some earlier buds to bring this in a lot tighter and a lot compact. And then we go to the other extreme, and it's this one, same batch, £15. This one, scars, wounds everywhere, odd shaped branches, odd crowns, everything. It's been just allowed to grow wild on the reliance on the fact that we're going to go out there and buy them. And we do. It's got an interesting root structure down here, very exposed. And this one, if you notice, was also the recipient of my first ever thread graft attempt. And there were 2 attempts. The first attempt was actually up here, and you see it's rolling over quite nicely. But what I will do is actually open that up again So I want this to heal really, really well. And then we'll apply some cut putty, which, as you all know, if you have a look in the description, I get from Adam of Notion Bonsai. And I think this is certainly with your Trident Maples that you've bought, you will find that you do need to spend the time working on some of the scarring that's there. It's worth the investment. Now, this again, you can see how it's actually rolling over. Nothing at the top here. I probably want to just open that up just a little bit, the knife. Now I have to be careful because right there is a thread graft that was actually successful. Okay. Oh, Mr. Bumblebee. Don't really want to get stung by a bumble. There we go. I had to run away. Mr. Bumblebee was getting right under my collar. So anyway, I've filled this area. I've refilled and opened up this one, leaving the successful thread graft from last year. Again, if you have a look at my propagation or whatever, put thread graft in the search and you'll see the thread graft videos I've done. And this year, I reckon I've got success with 7 thread grafts on the way. They often come with branches missing or branches die. That's the reason I did a thread graft here, to give me a branch there. And you'll often find you get situations here where you've got 1, 2, 3 from the same point. You've really got to have a look at them with a harsh eye, a harsh critical eye, and decide what is it you want to achieve to get this branch to grow. Am I going to do any pruning on it? Not at all. I just need to make sure I fertilize the tree and let that continue to grow out and thicken, because that needs to be thicker than either of these branches here. These are the day-to-day problems you're going to find with a lot of your import material that's at a lower grade or lower quality. Now what I am trying to do here is I've opened up the edges there, but it's actually a little bit rotten inside. So using some woodworking tools very carefully, I just want to dig out any flaky bark so that when it rolls, it will hopefully roll over a lot smoother. Now the problem you've got here is that's actually really, oh my gosh, that is a result of stupidity, honestly. I'm going to leave that horrendous mistake in the edit because I've got nothing to do with YouTube. I got so distracted on trying to dig out that the only branch I had coming from there, absolutely ridiculously silly. That actually I didn't like too much, that wiggle. So I'm actually going to bring it right back to stay there. And hopefully what will happen is we'll get some budding coming from lower here. Good thing about Trident Maple, if it's fit and healthy, it will bud from bare wood. Howler of the week, definitely. We can immediately see that we've got a lot of apical growth. First thing when we're looking at our tridents, I always go to the apex. Unless I'm growing a shoot or growing a new growth for one of 3 purposes. So 1, am I using it to heal? No. Am I using anything up here to thicken? No, because this tree is not going to get any taller than here. So the only other reason I'm going to have a shoot is to create back budding or to create the tertiary structure that I need. With that knowledge, I can already quickly go around and take all of these back to burst buds. And just to remind what I mean, if we follow this big tall one right at the apex, as I say, we've got 1, 2, 3 from the same point. So I'm going to remove that one there, first of all. That leaves us 2. If we go follow it down, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 internodes. And if you look at the gap between there and there, that's probably about 3 or 4 millimeters. I'm happy with that, so I will cut to there. Looking at this, I will just remove a couple of the older leaves. So that's a partial leaf defoliation. And the aim of that this time is I just want the energy to go into these smaller ones. Equally there, I'll take that one off. Here, this is actually quite a long way out. There's actually, well, if you look, 1, Then it zags off to the right. There's a little bud there up. You could almost argue there's too much. That actually goes out a long way for this high up in the tree. So initially I'm going to remove this clump here. If we look in here, we've got 2 buds coming from inside the bend. So that's an easy clear up. They're gone. Do you know what? Not only is that a problem, not only is it a problem of trying to grow a thicker branch here, we've also, no matter how much I look at it, got to try and resolve this 3-branch structure. And again, say, you know, it's me who says I need to resolve it. Many of you may look at that and go, hey Zav, I like it, don't bother with it. Because if you look at this branch here, there's actually quite a long gap as you follow it up, and it wiggles and snakes around where there's nothing there. And you know, if you can imagine that you actually take that off already, that would work better, and then you build these pads out, thicken, and certainly look a lot more balanced. It's poor material to begin with. Now I actually go to myself and say, in 2017, cost me the grand total of £15. Reality, what's it worth now? It's not really worth much. I wouldn't sell that 21. So I'm actually going to make the big decision, cutting that all off, and try and see if I can build something flat. Now I'm actually going to leave the stub, may get a little branch coming down off this. Worst case, I'll remove that stub and see what we can form from here. Don't be surprised if next year that actually goes into a growing bed and gets left alone for a couple of years. Did I mention Trident Maple are absolutely brilliant for cuttings? And that, if we look at the size, the thickness of it, I think we'll whack that into a little jar and we'll make a cutting and follow and see how that works out. Because in fact, I've got something that started out just like that. These were both apical cuttings, exactly like the one that we've got here, just placed into some soil and left. And we've got 2 very, very nice developing trees here, and we'll talk about this one here in a minute. This one, again, just need to prune, bring the apex down. They're never going to be any taller than this. All I'm trying to do is thicken them in proportion to each of the other branches. Probably the only branch that needs to get thicker is this one here. But this is what you get if you poke these in some soil. It's got nice taper and movement going up. Then we get this area here. It looks like the apex is going to be here. So I can already go, absolutely do not need that growth there. And we have a look here. This, top notch for a cutting. I've got a bucket of water down here. Everything I do today gets thrown into the bucket of water. This great long length here, that is now thick enough. The initial decision will be to cut here. And if you look at the way the movement is, it goes to the left, to the right, to the left. Fairly straight, but slightly off to the right. So the next move would be to the left. But close in, I'm also very aware, right in there, you can just see the little start of a bud right back there. And the good thing about Trident Maple is that you can always see where they're going to be. There's actually 2 just around, so I am going to leave a little bit of a stub, and I'll be looking for probably the 1 or 2 of those buds down there. There's 2 sets to spring out. And again, when you look here close in, it's quite ugly, but we've got a set of buds here, and then it's extended up further to the next set. So what I'm going to do is remove that top. That's actually not that attractive, but we'll leave that for now. And then having done the apex, all I need to do now is go in close and have a look and see where any shoots have extended, cut them back. This one I'm quite happy to let go a bit, but up here this is quite long coming out, so I'm actually going to take that off, go back to buds that are closer in. Again, we've got the same situation here where we can actually remove quite a lot. And then on this one, it actually extends by, there's a set of buds right there, another 4 millimeters of more buds, and then more buds. So I'm going to cut all the way back those buds there. A little bit of semi-leaf defoliation. And you know what? A couple of years, you can turn something like that, which costs nothing, into that, which costs 50p for the pot and whatever spare bit of soil you have. That is pretty good. This one, exactly the same. We've actually got a bit of an ugly little scar there. A lot more interest in the trunk. Got something down the bottom there, we don't need that. Again, the soil had got a bit compacted, so I give it a good poke about, aeration, a bit acadama on the top, and I've actually already put water through it just to see how it drains. Got the first branch lower down, and already you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's actually 6 internodal points. Each of them has some micro bud on it. You've seen what that looks like, but I need to bring that right back. And the same applies on this one here. We're looking up the top here. You've got bud points, one big one there. Then inside of it, there's another 2. And there's actually the 3rd set up here. So you've actually got 3 lots of buds that have been allowed to grow. The truth, well, do you know what? They're quite heavy. So in this instance, I'm going to take that little one off. I'm going to take that side one off. Let this grow out. Cut that back. Cut that right back. And see how that develops. And I know I wasn't even intending to actually show you these small ones, but clearly it shows the principles you need to follow. Understanding why are you trying to prune a branch? Do you need a branch to thicken? Do you need a branch for healing? Or indeed, are you just looking to create ramification? Actually, I just remembered, I also told you I was going to talk to you about how I was going to make this sort of thumb-sized mame, micro mame. Again, cutting just like the one you've just seen. This one, I've kept cutting back, and you can hopefully see in there quite clearly the little thumb size, the bends that are there. And the future of the tree are these little branches here. So what I do need to do now, it's as thick as I want it to be. I need to cut that off and then just fill the top. And then leave one of these to take over in a year's time. And then looking at that, all I need is, I don't want that one under there. Again, it's important, remove any shoots. You don't want the tree to put energy. I might have that. Probably don't want that. Not sure about that one. To be fair, I'm not sure. I'm going to leave the rest of those. I've got a fly up my nose. Oh, hate that. And leave and see which ones actually come from it. But this is going to be a really, really interesting little micro mame thumbnail. I mean, that's just literally the size of my thumb. Now we'll finish off with the one we started. Here we are. This is the proposed front for it, and you saw how I did one branch and how I've gone back to buds. Again, remind you, simple principle. What do you want to achieve with each branch, with each one that you go? Remembering that if you want to achieve more with the lower, you've got to control the apical dominance. I am not trying to grow this any taller, any higher. I'm not trying to wound heal up at the top. So I can already go immediately and say, let's cut these right back. Anything that's going down or underneath, that's coming from underneath the branch. Anything that's coming from inside of a curve or a bend, we can get rid of them. So I am looking at stuff that potentially I may well wire out, create the softer pads. And when you look at your tree, I know it's coming out here at the lowest branch. As we move up, they've got to consecutively come in closer and closer. So I have to bring it in tighter. Well, I've covered everything right up to the apical region. And look, there was nothing you missed. It's exactly the same as has been going on all the way through this video, indeed all the way through basic prune. In fact, all the way through all my sort of pruning videos. Again, just using the deadwood preserver that I get from Kaizen Bonsai. And it is basically a secret recipe consisting of linseed oil and other natural ingredients. Never causes any damage to the tree where it dribbles or anything, and it definitely works well on preserving that wood. So yeah, that hollow should do very, very well. We look further up, bear in mind where the front is, we have got up here, again we've had shoots that have developed here and here, then they've allowed to go on further, creating a knobbly lump there. This is the apex. We really need to define whether we want that or indeed the one that's underneath it. We could actually remove that entire middle section. But it's always a difficult decision because you need to be looking up close and working out, if I cut the whole middle out, that is going to leave almost a 90-degree bend between that one and that one. If I take this one out here, that means there's going to be a great big flat section all the way down there at the front of our tree. And I'm not sure I like that idea. Looking at that, I think I'm going to take the one that's on the inside. Often it's just a case of going, if I've got 3 to choose from and I don't want to take the middle one out, then take the one that's on the inside of the bend. And if the front's going to be like that, definitely want that one going off that way, but actually there's a shoot a lot closer in here, which I like the look of. So bearing in mind the internodal distances to all these little ones here, and then you compare it to that great big long length there, which is almost as long as that length there, I'm going to take it all the way back and see if we can get that little bud down there to go. So I'll remove that. I may still actually remove that one in the end. So there's our front there. So there we go. I've cut that back, made some decisions. Sometimes it is just about making decisions, and we all make slightly different ones. I've got something on the inside here. Just get rid of that shoot there. What I need to do is same kelp-based fertilizer, which I'll whack in there. It's had a really, really heavy prune. What I say with all of you, whether it be maples, in fact any of your deciduous, if you take away a lot of the leaf canopy, I've taken away at least 50% of the leaf canopy here, then it's going to take a little while for the new shoots to come out, for it to recover. A lot of stuff that's been shaded will now be open to the sunlight, so find a nice dappled part of the garden. But that's really the basis of pruning. We will all take slightly different approaches and angles depending on what we see in our mind's eye as the development and the future of the tree. And ultimately, no matter how hard I try, I cannot bring you three-dimensionally what I'm seeing up close in terms of the bends and wiggles of some of these branches. It's not an apology, it's just sometimes you and I will see things differently. I've now got to go and hit the other 4 or 5 that are down by the one of the other planting areas and do exactly the same thing. And if anyone was wondering, yes, this big beast still exists and is still part of a rather extended time lapse as I try to rebuild it. It's got a long way to go. There's a thread graft going through, and I actually now need to do a little bit of pruning on it right now for the future video, which again, you know what you need to do if you want to see it. But it's nice and healthy, that's for sure. But apart from that, hopefully that's been helpful, or at least fun to watch, and don't make the mistakes I did. Apart from that, happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.